works.
Hey, are we
Hello.
live? Hello.
Yes.
Okay, I hope we're live.
Ta-da!
And I hope there's anyone there. So, hello, my name is Asya. I'm head of content at Snarkart and OGR. And today we will be speaking about Life in Our Mind project. While we're talking, people on our allow list can purchase their Leom NFTs on our OGR platform. And tomorrow, people on the wait list will have this opportunity. And together with me, I'm happy to have Danil and Hannes, the artists of this great project. And hi, how are you?
Morning, morning. I don't know. Is it morning? It's already one.
I will go
1
to bed
p.m.
in 1 hour. I don't know what about you.
Yeah, it's so stressful to be honest. Like this last few days for the whole team, obviously. Like not for just myself, because I've seen developers been tweaking and fixing bugs like last night. I don't know what time it was. It was night in New York. Like I have no idea what time it was in Europe, because when you have to pull something as monumental as this platform and this new collection out from the ground, yeah, it's crazy amount of work.
Yeah,
So
and now when
everyone a bit.
everything is actually happening this moment,
Yeah.
buying, not buying, how do you feel about it?
I'm so exhausted. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't care. I do care, but I'm so exhausted and stressed that
Okay.
hopefully it's just a few days more, and at least the public sale will be over, and we can focus on beautiful and interesting things like developing the collection, how it will grow. I'm really want to see what it will
Hannes,
be.
are you more optimistic and less tired? How are you?
Look, Danil has, I mean, the stuff that he has, him and you got the Snark team have had to go through to get to this, to realize this project seems certifiably insane. It's like it's like, and I can totally understand. But
You're
over here,
in us in this boat. Why are you saying it this way?
because I think our stress comes at different points. It's like
Yeah,
true.
for Hannes, it's still ahead of him. Like you can see myself, and that will be Hannes in a couple
it's behind
months.
me and it's in front of me.
True.
It's always like that. So I know. I think this is probably the equivalent to some form of probably IRL exhibition opening where it's now people are coming in and see the work, and nothing works in an hour. It does, and these
True,
I know
yeah.
exactly how you feel, and I think it's probably it is a certificate for a successful work when you really don't give a shit about the end and just go like, it's out of my, it's like,
okay, I've got enough.
It never means give a shit. That just means that you give all the shit. So
true. So as the first question, I wanted to ask you, Hannes, to explain us the title and probably the main concept of Life in Our Mind, because I remember when it all just started and you were presenting the project to our Snarkart and OGR team, you told us about this very impressive scientific fact about people and animals, about their ability to detect natural movement in a very small time, and the way you as artists play with this instinct. Could you maybe tell this story and explain probably the title this way?
I have to chuckle because I've been briefed to keep it short, and now you ask a really
no,
a trick.
we give you.
Okay. I think we're fascinated as artists. We're fascinated by the fact that humans are naturally drawn to assigning meaning to motion, to movement, if we see something moving, especially natural motion, say a flock of birds or a school of fish, we're pre-programmed. It's sort of coded into our perception to assign meaning to it, emotional meaning. We see sense and intention in that movement, and that's something we find just fascinating, and it comes through in on all sorts of different levels. And this is a core, I think, a core quality also of this project, where as a sculpture, I think if we see flocking behavior in the way that we're trying to develop it here in life in our minds, that life starts to come into play in our minds first and foremost. It's not on the screen that like a few bits and bytes suddenly have sentience. That's not the thing. The thing is that in our minds,
we
that
perceive it as something alive,
yeah,
because of this instinct that is like that we cannot fight. Or
I guess humans feel really uncomfortable to keep things that like look at things without it assigning some meaning to them. That's something we can barely do, and I think that's a function and has a function, and that's a quality of our human condition.
And so I'll just say it because I think most of you probably already know it's that life in our mind consists of these two large interconnected parts, which is the mother flock virtual sculpture and the NFT collection. And both of them consist of the same basic elements called voids. So what is void? What does this word mean? We know that in our project, void is this little 3D origami piece, but you didn't invent it, did you?
No, guy called I keep forgetting his first name. Reynolds, Craig Reynolds, I think. A
Craig
researcher in a commercial digital design lab in the 80s started to play with assigning very simple behavioral rules to large quantities of digital objects so that they could animate, say, an army of orcs or something later on. So that found its trickled up, found its way into Pixar animation and stuff. This was a Sony lab, I believe, in '86 or something. So he started looking at nature, apparently, and to simulate that. He started looking at nature to look where that happens, and that's where large quantities of things move around is flocks of birds, school of fish, and swarms of insects and stuff. And so he simulated that successfully with very simple 3 or 4 rules that he assigned to individual objects in a collective digital object, and then he called these objects bird-like objects. I think that's where this voids comes from, that bird-like object. And and that's the first time that we found anyway that the swarming and flocking had been digitally simulated in ones and zeros, algorithmically simulated. And we used that algorithm right from the start when we started trying to mimic or explore flocking behavior. That's what we based all our explorations on. And that's what sort of constitutes also the basic for the mother flock, in which we take all the individual voids from the NFT collections and sort of merge them into one large public sculpture.
Yeah. And why are they, maybe Danil, you are responsible for that decision. Why are these voids origami?
Oh, it's not me. It
No,
came from. It's again for Hannes. They
Okay.
come like from very beginning with a concept of these flocking origami pieces. So I helped to design them, but the ideation is on their side. So Hannes
Okay,
would be
Hannes,
probably
then
the
you're
one
again.
to explain you.
I'm sorry, Danny. You can just sit back and just zoom out.
And have some coffee. No, I
I
promise.
deserve
Next one
it.
goes
I
for
mean,
you.
I had
So
just a few hours of sleep, so yeah, I
this
definitely
this
deserve some coffee.
some downtime for Daniel. I can keep talking. But there's some really to sort of corroborate this fascinating research into how we assign meaning to movement. There's some experiments by two researchers called Heider and Zimmer, and I think Princeton or somewhere in the 1940s or 50s. They did really simple animations using paper triangles, like stop frame animations, paper triangles and circles and squares, and moved them around on paper. They did like little sort of films, and they showed them to people, and people immediately assigned emotional meaning to the movement. Oh, this
You mean
triangle.
like, oh, this triangle is trying to push the. He's so
Exactly.
angry. Yeah.
And that sort of I think that experimental studies in I can't remember the scientific. It's a beautiful paper, and experimental studies in apparent behavior, and it's not really it's apparent to us. Again, it exists in our mind. There's a paper triangle doesn't have any intention, and to us as artistically, it really never mattered so much. We never were like intent on simulating flocking with a specific species. In the opposite, we really try to keep away from that level of detail, because it almost distracted from the human perception, which was important to us. It doesn't matter what thing is flocking or moving around. It's how we perceive it and what we make of that information. So when we were looking at the constituent parts of this public sculpture, of this mother flock, we did start looking into paper triangles and paper circles, and kept it quite I think quite minimalist. And I think Danil started very early in the project to really develop all the possibilities that we could think of in this project, and that he had thought of. And I think that's where we then started, okay, we need to differentiate, we need to make the individual constituent parts exciting. And that's where we then felt there was a nice, beautiful straight line between something very handmade, origami, it's a very sort of undigital craft, and this hyper digital way of producing a sculpture. And then I think we made some explorations into origami, and then Daniel took it on and ran with it to this incredible collection that you see starting today, that starts evolving. And it's that's where the origami came from.
Great, thank you. And Daniel, now it's your turn. So while the mother flock sculpture is this big flock that is playing with our instinctive perception of natural movement, the smaller NFTs can be also viewed as small flocks, I think, of these small flocks of boys, and that also interact with the collectors in their own way. So could you please explain the dynamics behind the collection, and how you with this idea of flocking voids and how they actually interact with the collectors?
So it was a gradual process, because initially when I first time heard about the idea of the collection, of like separating this flock to individual pieces and selling them as NFTs, I realized, well, we have a problem, because there is two things. One is there are too many of them needed, like individual boards. To create this flock, it should be tens of thousands of individual pieces, and it means you need like extremely unreasonably big collection.
Huge
And
collection, yeah.
and the other thing to consider is, well, people should have some like emotional connection to the piece they own, and it's hard to make someone laugh like a paper circle. There is like exceptions to this rule, but usually people it's hard to make this like emotional. Then there is thousands of them, as Hannes told. It starts to behave like something we can put
Relate
some
with,
yeah, to relate, like feel it, like it has some conscious, it has some like motivation or something. But one individual piece, it's so hard to make like a reasonable connection between owner and this artwork. So the solution was yeah, to instead of having just individual voids, have multiples like mini flocks. And I did some visual tests very early. I think it was like back in March or something, maybe early April. So it went for forever. Like there is so much like behind the scenes R&D happened.
yeah, it's like
We tried
months
so many
past.
different directions to end up, because like when you
Yeah.
see back in time, always feels so natural. Like, well, you have this problem and this solution, it's so obvious. But when you like going through this thing, it means you had thousands of possibilities that you tried and decide like, well, it's not worth it. This like so it's almost like going blindly and trying something. So this initial mini flocks, I tried to replicate the same movement Hannes and like Random International has in this huge flocking thing. But the problem is it doesn't look well and doesn't work well. Then you have, I don't know, 10 or 12 or even like 50 pieces. It's not enough elements to create this perceived like complexity. It felt like more of I don't know, a garbage can with the fan below, and it just like flows like that. So
Nothing emerges. Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. So I tried to find any different solutions, because obviously, like I already have this understanding, it should be multiple voids, and they still have to move, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will not be connected like on conceptual level.
Yeah,
To
with this
great
movement,
block.
because
Yeah, it should be
it's all
animated
about the
somehow.
movement. Yeah.
And I tried different options, and at some point, it's how it's called, like a happy mistake or something. So I tried to like do different types of formations, and one of them were like circular one, very super simple. And Hans immediately reacted like saying, "Well, that's the one."
So
And
it clicked, and you kind of feel, yeah,
yeah,
should
because
do this
it
one.
felt like it has this internal movement, so it solved this part and it has multiple voids, but it still was a thing of its own. So it felt like something.
Yeah.
And
I just
from
one short
this decision,
question.
like everything else grew. So
Short
yeah.
question to interrupt. I was just trying to imagine this half a year of very intense work between you guys, and going back and forth with different ideas and visuals, but you never actually saw each other in real life. Is it true?
No, I
Not
mean,
yet.
what,
No.
like how we define real?
Like real, physical.
No.
For past 3 years, that was my like real way of communication. Like starting
Yeah.
from COVID, I worked with so many amazing teams, and I never met anyone from these teams. So it's just like new
Yeah.
normal now for me. I
A
don't
little
know.
bit. It's both cool and sad. I don't know.
I'm an introvert person. I do love
Maybe.
it. Like it's
Yeah.
so much better to stay at home.
Okay. And so you came up with this flocking little flock, and could you tell about the mechanics in this flock? So how collectors actually what they can do with it, and how they grow it, and what happens next, what happens after they got it today. So today they half of them are
Okay.
minting them, and where we go next?
The next thing happened after you mint. The system from OG Art platform will collect all the metadata from your wallet, the collections you own, like all these tiny parameters, and store it in the backend, and gradually start to send in all this data to my scene, which interpret this data and create these mandalas, whatever you call them. And I'm not sure the reveal date is already set, because I think it's a the thing is, it's all based on what we did for like OG crystals, almost exactly the same date a year ago. But the difference is, last time we had to hire render farm, like regular render farm, where you like render, I don't know, visual effects for upcoming movies or something like that. This time, the difference is like on technological level. Back then, it was just single frame for each crystal. Now we have to render 180 frames. So it's like sequence, it's animated, because, yeah, as I said before, the concept was to always have something like changing.
Yeah.
And it means we have so much more work to do, like for rendering. Luckily, we found new partner, because with the previous render farm, it wouldn't be even possible. It has like 20 machines, which is a lot, but it's still not enough for this collection. So now it's all operated in cloud, like on-demand rendering. With, I think it's 500 workstations, like can work simultaneously. But it's so new for us. So we obviously did like a lot of testing and finding the right solutions, but probably that's why the OGR team decided not to tell the exact date of revealing. It should be like in short time, but I do not know the date too. So like what is happening right now? Yeah, the data is collected and it starts being sent to this cloud and being rendered. And when we have first iteration for each of these thousands of NFTs, the reveal will happen. And after that, it's not the end. That's the most interesting thing about this collection. So, because usually what happens, you mint, you wait some time for reveal to happen, and after that you just got what you got. That's it. For this collection, it's almost like a super extended reveal, because it will continue growing, and like each individual NFT will continue grow and change over almost 100 days from now. And the most rare traits will reveal at the very, very end for each one. So it's designed this way. So you, until the very end, you don't know how like actually it's rare or it's super rare piece you have.
Yeah, and how your NFT will look like.
Yeah, so that's for like visual traits. The other thing, how you interact, is because it takes the data from your wallet. It takes like what collections you have right now, and adds like individual voids with visual properties defined by collections. We have 50 something, like 51 or 50 plus collections supported. So it means if you can like affect the look of your NFT by changing the content of your wallet to some degree. So that's one way of expressing yourself. Like if you huge fan, I don't know, of Meebits, so just use your very Meebit wallet with only Meebits in it, and put your Lime NFT there, and it will absorb your love to Meebits and will be like visual representation of your tribute to Meebit community and any other collection. Or you might want to, like with Pokemons, have them all. I don't know, is it even possible to have like 51 collection in your wallet? But if for some reason you have,
I was just going to ask, like, is there like, are there mega collectors who are going to go, I have them all and I have this like super evolved.
I would be curious. I did render tests, and I do like variety. So for render tests, I have like all of them not repeating themselves. So every single one was different. But for some people, they have different preferences to what they like.
I wonder if people will have completely clean, like virgin, by the end of the 100 days, if there will be any virgin.
Well, it's an option too, because we have this separate kind of textures patterns for Life in Our Minds. So it means if you
So
have
if
like
I have
empty wallet,
yeah,
well, technically you cannot have known. You have at least one, which is life in
yeah,
our minds, right? So
yeah.
it fits into the concept. So if you have only one, and it will absorb the qualities of like your wallet having just life in our minds.
So it
So you
will
will end
have
up having,
patterns of life in
yeah,
our
just
mind.
life in our minds patterns. It's like
But during the
deconstructed,
sale,
striped. Hmm?
like I just want to repeat it if I got it right. So actually, I bought the let's say an Leom NFT today, and I to see it evolve and to enjoy it evolving, I need to do nothing. I just watch it growing
Literally,
for 100
yeah.
days. But
Well,
if
if you,
yeah,
it's
but if I
if you
am kind of
prefer, yeah, if you prefer this like hands-off approach, you can just buy and let it grow and see like because it has some like a progress bar basically from 0 to
and I can see
100%.
on which
Yeah, so it will be
stage
like
it is.
gradually growing, and at some milestones every 10% actually it will be re-rendered and updated on OpenSea. So you don't have to do anything, just come back, check every few, I don't know, not days, but like 7 days, I think, and you will see the changes happening if you don't want to do anything.
Okay,
If
And
but
you
if I
can,
do want, if I, yeah, Hannes, please.
and you can, if you like one particular thing a lot and you don't want to ruin it, you can also terminate
yeah,
growth, right?
there is like
And
a
freeze it,
switch
kill switch.
to, yeah,
Like
there is
if I feel
two
that
options.
that's it, it's perfect, I don't want it to change, I can
Yeah,
like stop it.
yeah, you
I
can
think
just
that's
lock it and that's it. Mhm.
and I think that was one of the real treats for us for Random to work on this. I don't know, people who know our work. It's I think we're visual artists, but we're very geared towards a physical experience. So we're very sparse on color and things like that. And in our general work, we're very material. We have a material fetish and so on and so forth. So we're very German in that sense. Very and I would barely hang any digital artwork in my home, and I think Danil's like these. They're literally mandalas. They're things that are they're objects or artworks that are in themselves little animated sequences that incredibly hypnotizing, and I think that was incredible to see what could come out of this element of our swarm that we've looked at for I don't know 15 years, and you never paid any attention to these little objects, and then they're being so incredibly celebrated. That was incredible to see for us. It's still
I
it's
should create a
very
physical thing for you, Hannes. You know, like have like
absolutely.
Yeah, with
No,
have
that's a kinetic. I
kinetic
think
or
that
metal circle plays a lot of things on that,
yeah,
and with
exactly,
the
like a
width
little
it will
kinetic
do.
artwork.
Technically,
Yeah,
it's doable, I think.
totally, totally.
but let's say I'm an active collector, I want to do something, I don't want to sit and wait, so what can I do?
Well, you can try to
Buy
curate
more
your
NFTs from
collections or find someone who already have something you like on the secondary market and buy from them. And depending on what your decision, you can like keep it in your wallet and allow it to absorb your data even more because there is extended period while new voids are added. Or if you find something like, I don't know, you see this like triangle with 17 perfectly arranged voids and things like that's it. There shouldn't be like happening anything else to it, so we can just lock it and that's it. The other funny thing is on contrary to what we had for crystals, because back then you had to buy new
to
one
sell it.
to make anything change. So this one doesn't change at all. While I mean they change, you don't have to do it, nothing at all while they're in your wallet. But the moment you put it on the secondary market, they stop to grow because it's a conceptually funny and interesting play with idea that when you put inside like in a contract, even when you try to sell something, it's not in your wallet because OpenSea actually owns it. So it goes
Okay.
from your ownership to this like platform. It's locked in a contract, and that's why it stops growing, which is a really interesting play. And I find it really fascinating that it's on some level it's exactly the same what happens with this mother flock, because like the rules are like for each individual one, they're super simple. It's like 3 or 4 rules, and it's well, it's very basic, like algorithmically it's very basic computation. But when you combine it and let it put it in the nature, when it's worked together as like bigger thing
Yeah.
within this environment, it starts to create something what called this emergent behavior. So you never
Something
programmed this particular
unpredictable.
formation. Yeah, you programmed like very simple rules. So the same for the collection. The rules are like super simple. If it's in your wallet, it keeps growing. But
I'm really
when you put it back into the ecosystem, it like have a lot of consequences.
Yeah.
we're really curious if people start swapping, that you go literally collection hopping with this small element of risk that you might give something away or never get it back, but that you see like, okay, we can trade. I have stuff in my collection that you don't have. We both have a Life in Our Minds NFT. Can we swap them?
You mean like communicating in this way? So
I think that's what we're curious to see, the community behavior, if there is any. Is there trading, swapping?
Well, I've seen something like that in Crystal's community. So hopefully people will be interested this time too. They just like talked one to one, saying, "Oh, you have I don't know, like CryptoPunk in your wallet. Would you mind
growing
like
one
going
piece
back?
for me?"
Yeah, just push it. No, I mean not the punk itself, but can
Yeah.
you hold my crystal for a moment,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
then I'll take it back with
Yeah.
this
Wow,
new
that would be
property
nice.
acquired.
Yeah, and then there is this, if you swap back, or you promise each other that you will give them back, and then you're cheeky and don't and stuff. And so I think that's the sort of behavioral, the sort of social sculptural element that we're curious about in this
experiment. And also in case of such dynamic collections, dynamic NFT collections, artists have to give away control over the art piece they are actually creating, and in this case even control of the final virtual sculpture, which is a big thing. And I wonder how you feel about it.
we didn't think that through. That came in through the process, and I think we're glad for it in the end now, because of course it's more.
You mean you were surprised to find out that you will not have the final control over?
Yeah, we didn't come to the table and say like, hey, we want to experiment with co-creation, and I'm glad that this came. This is starting to be a thing, because thinking about it for the last 9 months or 10 months, I think this is a sort of a natural democratization process of some elements of art creation and creating doing creative work. There is less and less professional, more and more accessible tools for the creation process. And I think here we of course Danil especially here keeps a very tight grip on how that co-creation process is developed. But I think it asks exactly the right questions and poses the exact right talking points that we need to debate and think about, like what that means. What happens to the sort of self-image of an artist when there is a co-creation element. What happens, and I think you can totally, and now I could go on a whole tangent about that. I think there is a machine-enabled co-creation element here that is not limited to the artist profession, right? We have support writing text for journalists. We have any kind of machine supported and increasingly machine led process that collaborates or takes over a professional human process is something that you're shining a light on here in some way. And I think this is a very gentle one. You open up a process formally reserved to one specific person or collective. And I think that's a super interesting thought. It's working on this edge here in this sphere. Suddenly we feel very conservative and go like, is it the right thing? And we've always been the non like this, like it's a role reversal. Suddenly we're like, no, like the machine is not creating anything, and probably the either, and yet here we are, right? And I think that's in general, it's always a good thing when something's terrifying and scary. It's where
Do you mean, did I get you right, that before going to blockchain, you felt very experimental and technologically advanced, and now you feel the opposite? Or
I feel really stupid, yeah, mostly because I have no idea what's technically going on. And that was, it's, I think in some way that's a blessing. It gives, and we're well versed in that process. You don't have to understand everything that you choose to work with creatively. But here, this was quite a sort of turnaround in our thinking, where normally in this context where we operate, we're the ones who are seen as innovative, and suddenly we're the sort of we really have to up our game and start to learn and listen. It's a humbling and healthy procedure, I think, so far.
By the way, about the game, this NFT art and these collections, and especially dynamic NFTs where collectors are co-creating art with the artist, it's kind of a game where the artists set the rules, but then you have these people playing. And I wonder how you feel about art being a game.
I don't think the art I don't think the
okay, Danil, you next. Yeah, please, Hannah. Sorry, you just started speaking at the same time.
I don't think the output is the game. I think there is a sort of very playful process, and I think that is it's the game is the art. It's almost the other way around. I think the output is something that should and can exist independently of its creation process, the thing we all together look at, and I think that's that goes for us, that goes beyond a pure sort of momentary lust fulfilling thing. It's like a game, like something that sort of triggers our endorphins or something. It's something that we think triggers debate and thought and expands perspective. And to that extent, like, games are amazing, to expand perspective, to change it, to question it. So I'm happy for it.
Danil, what do you think about this gaming part?
Well, initially it was a surprise for me. Like on my last collection, even like maybe on the first one, so I was surprised how much it's about, not about only the art, but it felt more like a running game dev company. Because you have like an art department, right? You need some conceptual, so like some storytelling behind it. You need marketing department. You need developers, like social media communications. It's so
the
many
whole crew.
different. Yeah, so it's not like you are just like painting something and that's it. There is a lot of like moving parts, and they should work like in coherence together to make working. And obviously there is a community. Like I'm just talking about like one side of like development, right? There is another side that people has to show up. They should be interested in what you propose them to play in. And,
otherwise it wouldn't work.
Yeah, otherwise it's not a game, right? It's you just like making some strange things for no one to show up. So it's very interesting. And
which
I
describes art, making
Which
yeah
signs.
describes art.
yeah.
Yeah,
No one
Well,
shows
the
the
us
thing
usual
is,
this.
one.
Yeah,
the games, like normal games, not I'm not talking about just like NFTs, real games, they are so advanced already in each field, like not only in design but in mechanics and storytelling. They already blurring this border between being like art piece and just entertainment. It's somewhere
That
in
is true,
it
and games
like
can be
so.
seen in
Obviously,
museums.
it's a spectrum. So some of them, like I don't know, Call of Duty is more about it's like going on blockbuster movie, right? And some pieces are truly like a art house. So it's a installation
True.
or experience you go through. So I think for NFTs, it might be a future too. So we are very early in this stage of just like trying different things, how interactive art could work, like including the community input from the community into the artwork itself.
Yeah, and being both
It's
a
really interesting.
game and a piece of art that
Yeah.
has this, what
So
Hannes said, this meaning
mhm.
and this making people to ask questions and think.
Yeah, it's super interesting. As for like artistic control, I do think that we still have a lot of control. It's to some
yeah,
degree, it's even more than it was before, because when you create one piece of art, you basically just a person creating one object, right? And here you more in the role of like nature or
God.
Environment,
personifications of a
God.
creator himself, because you define the rules. It's very different, and you don't have to like think about individual outcomes. You create the rules, and if people decide to like follow the rules, something beautiful emerge from that. So it's on conceptual level, I do love it even more than just creating one like individual image or individual
Yeah,
sequence. You are more or less like creating the universe, like small one, because you are not the god himself, so you have like very limited abilities, but still it's like your own small universe with rules you define by yourself. It's really interesting process.
Wow, sounds incredible. And Hannes,
You
I
should
know
try
that
it. You should try it.
creating the universe. Okay.
Yeah, why not?
Um, I wanted to ask Hannes to, if only you can answer, but and I know that the Motherflock's virtual sculpture will be revealed later this year on a very special physical in real life event. But maybe you could, give us some clues on how it will look like, the size, the structure, the interactive part, something, how, just something to let us imagine it.
I I think it's not rocket science for us. The fascination and also the motivation of developing these explorations into representing flocking behavior, swarming behavior in a format that we can perceive it as human beings. That it's a very simple. There was a very simple reason. It's very hard to in nature to experience that sufficiently. You only ever and there is some beauty in that. You only ever get a glimpse of a large flock of birds, or so, it's very very fleeting, and it's very very frustrating. And I think that's what for a long time we tried to bring that in, because there is something utterly satisfying and almost I think hypnotic or healing in just and calming in observing this emerging behavior, this collective movement in large quantities of individual objects, moving in synchronicity.
But this will
Um,
be a huge installation, and the person like inside of it somehow to feel it around
I
you
think
to see
I
it like.
think yeah, if we could, we would make little we would remote control little I think flies or something, very small objects, like, and have them fly, and that's not really possible. So I think the next best thing is for us is to find a way in for that, for us, for the human body, for our physical bodies to interact with that, to find some sort of interface where we can, without run into the flock, but where we can start to engage with it through movement itself. And I think we've created a way to, and are creating and finding a way to do that with the mother flock, where you can walk in, and it's going to be a screen based at first. I think the first large iteration will be a screen based version. I think further down, we're absolutely looking for ways to do that sort of in the future. That's what we're dreaming of. 5 to 10 years time, we're dreaming of doing this in an augmented context, so you can really immerse yourself in it. We see a lot of really interesting opportunities there to blur the line, but this is the starting point. And the same for there is a sort of permanently exhibited version of the mother flock in all its glory that is accessible broadly. It's live streamed on a website, and you can see it there and just have it as a work on
your
your
screen.
Just check in with it from time to time. And the one we're doing is more the sort of the interface to the real world, where you, in an exhibition, you can really walk into it and play with it. And it's not so much about identifying with individual objects in that. For that, it's it's too fast moving. It's too many. But that's to make an experience that is sort of something that you can really physically soak in.
Oh, I hope I can experience it myself really very, very much. But besides the museum, the gallery version, there will be the web version, right? And Danil, I think you said somewhere that it will have its own mechanics somehow connected to the Web3 market. Could you speak about it a little bit and explain?
Yeah, so the idea behind Webflog is to make the sculpture more accessible. So because to experience what Hannes prepared for you, you have to be in very particular place on Earth to have this IMAX experience of like a huge screen, beautiful moment, all these things. Unfortunately, not everyone will be able to do so. So we decided that to democratize experience a bit, we create basically online version, which will work both in browser, like on desktop or on a mobile. It obviously will be more like simplified version of the mother flock experience from the gallery because of technical limitations. So we couldn't allow as many beautiful boards as Hannes can do with his high-end hardware. Yeah, but so you'll be able to visit the specific web address and experience the flock. It will have the same idea of like taking the properties of the collection, and so all the boards you will have in this flocking web version will be from the collection. So whatever people decide to mint and what the distribution of properties will be in the collection, it will be transferred to this flocking system on the web. The other thing, well, I haven't talked about this, but on conceptual level, if your NFTs reflect your wallet, like the content of your wallet, so it's somehow reflection of your personality on the blockchain, right? When you pull together every personality on from the market, it is a market itself. So it's a swarm basically of investors, owners, holders, buyers, flippers, whoever they are, what was the personality they have. So their NFTs represent themselves, their activity, and then you create a flock out of this. It's a market like a slice. Obviously, it's not the whole market, it's just too big to represent in this way, but it's a slice, and to some degree it represents the market. So we decided that it would be nice to have one more step and introduce some qualities of the global NFT market to the flocking system. So when the market is up and running and there are a lot of transactions, the flock has a bit more energy, so they move in a bit faster. When you have crypto winter and nobody buy and sell, like it's just a dry market, it will slow down. It will not die, obviously, but it will have a bit less energy compared to higher times. So that's it about Webflow.
These are nice. Hannes, I'm sure you've been already asked this question many times, but still I'm very interested to hear about your first experience working with the blockchain as a medium, and you as an artist that is used to making these incredible huge installations and with the and working with the physical feelings of people, are now experimenting with something completely different. And I wonder, what did you notice? What do you find new about it? What artists can get out of this medium, out of this tool? What opportunities it gives artists?
I don't think I'm qualified to speak on behalf of other artists. I think for us it was very immediately interesting to see the NFT sphere evolving, because it's a format for us that our work is already native to. It's not crypto native, has never been. So that's the bit where we really don't, have any. We're complete newbies. Have never paid much attention. I think we've started thinking in 2018 about authenticating works on the blockchain for certificates of authenticity and so on and so forth. But other than that, didn't really. Our output, our final output, was barely ever bits and bytes. It was usually wet work, light installations, kinetic stuff, mirrors, water, and so on. But all the creation process happened pretty much first in our head, but then very quickly in ones and zeros since 2005. Since we started, and before we started using Cinema 4D for sketching, we like everything that NFTs started to be made of is something that our work exists in at some stage in the creation process. So for us, we paid a lot of attention to it, because it means that there might be a way for us to share parts of this, make it more accessible in a really accessible format, in a unified, harmonized format. Whereas before, all that work sits in the studio, and the output, in our case, is usually not very accessible because it's really expensive. A lot of these sort of larger scale public art immersive things, and we're not the people who were great at making postcards or something, or posters or things like that. So this is a fantastic way. I guess it's like, for us, that was our starting point. It was like, hey, we should pay attention to it. I think I see it now. So that was our starting point. Now I see it almost like a material. I think that whole market for us is a material for artistic creation, and that's where we got really excited about it. And I think we're trying to use it, and we're experimenting with it to learn as much as we do in the real world with human behavior. Where it's a field that we wrestle with and see what comes up, poke around. And I think that in this project we're doing that. In another project which we're working on with the guys from Aorist, it's always a sort of, it tends to be more and more a consideration of the blockchain as a material for artistic creation. As we used cameras and code before, now it starts to be that. And it's, again, I don't need to understand fully how a real sense camera works to be able to use it meaningfully in an artwork.
Same here.
That's where, and that's where we're so reliant and so where this whole idea of collectively working together is becoming a new meaning for us, because we can do stuff with cameras and code and stuff. We couldn't do things like this on our own. It wouldn't be half as good, because there is such a level of expertise necessary that I think Danil and Snark brought to the table, and pace versa, that it's a truly collective effort, and that's quite interesting to us. It's a fairly new form of artistic production also for us. It becomes more like, film, or things like that. It's a very multidisciplinary effort, and so I think it's interesting. But again, it started as a sort of channel, as a platform, as a format to share work,
with much bigger community.
And share that with a different and bigger community, and then it now is much more like we did
as an experimental field. That is interesting.
It's a material rather than a market, I think, first and foremost.
We have some questions in Discord, and I'd like to read them out. And if someone else have more questions, please type them. So because soon we'll be finishing, and so do it now. So the first question is regarding the collaboration collections that are in an owner wallet. How will the unique traits manifest if a wallet has more than one qualifying collection? Like, I have 4 collections that qualify, and I'm curious how that might work. Danil, I guess you can explain it.
Okay, I can say in layman terms, you're in for a treat.
So each individual void has a pattern, right? And the system somehow has to select the patterns. So we created
by pattern. I think we should explain. There's this ornament that will appear at certain points.
How do you call them?
It's a visual trait It's a visual trait of the object.
So if you think of it as like a real origami piece, it's what was printed on a paper before you fold it.
Right.
So that's the pattern. I mean, so
if I have 4 different collections that should give their pattern to my NFT.
It's a bit tricky, because the thing is, the system should work correctly in many different scenarios, because if you think of it, it could have like not many voids, or have very many of them, like 50 something. And simultaneously you can have only 1 collection or 50 collection. So we had to create the system to distribute these properties somehow that will make some sense. I probably shouldn't give all the details yet before we end the growth period, because we obviously will describe everything.
We want
after
something
the collection.
to say as surprise.
But it will be safe to say that if you have 4, well, you're gonna have these 4 collections, patterns for these 4 collections
on different voids, right?
Yeah, but the distribution, like how many of each you will have, it's something I unfortunately cannot discuss right now. But the thing is, you're definitely gonna have at least 1 of each. And after that, after that, it becomes more complicated. But I tried my best to balance this thing, so make everyone happy. I don't know, is it even possible? But I tried.
You can absolutely not make everybody happy.
You shouldn't even try.
And I actually want to say, we've been talking about collaboration and all these things. It was a collaborative effort on creating the patterns too, because we worked with very talented illustrator, and her work was really a really interesting one, because she had to look at each collection out of this huge list of 50 of them and find some visual things in each one which could be made as a pattern without like direct quoting of graphical elements, because obviously we don't.
You should tell her name.
It's Yana, and we should add her link somewhere.
Sure,
because
we will.
she made like a great and very like time like effort was huge one.
Wow.
So and it's like no one mentioned this before for some reason, but it's like 54 handcrafted patterns for each individual collection,
visually reducing a whole universe of its own in each of the 50 cases into a black and white repeat pattern.
Little ornament.
And they're like on an abstract level. Visually they connected to each
to the collection,
but not like we don't have a like if we have boarded APCR club, we don't use like
the same monkeys,
something like that, or just a logo or font or whatever.
Nice.
So they like reminds but don't quote exactly.
Wow, it feels so handcrafted. Wow.
Yeah, it
I didn't
is.
know this.
Everything about this collection is very well crafted, and I can't wait to see the
result.
I'm just like because it will combine everything we already done to even like bigger and more interesting form. Because all the patterns will be there, all the shapes, all the colors, but just combined on the big screen. It should be.
It's gonna be great. Okay, I'll keep reading the questions. Will there be any rarity rankings? If so, how would this be done? And maybe it's better if there aren't any. So just personal views of what is beautiful or rare is all that matters.
Well, it's up to you. You can just look up the ranking, or you don't.
Right. So there's just this site where you can see.
I'm not sure we have some like official og.art ranking system. So for crystals, I think guys had took what rarity sniper assigned to each crystal and use this as a rank. So like from third-party service. For this collection, I honestly don't know because there is, and the thing is about these ranks, they are very subjective, because the algorithms how you assign weights for each trait is very different for different systems. So you may have something like rarity sniper thinks your rank in top 10, and another system will, well, you're not even in like first 100.
And rank the other top 10.
And I don't think it's fair for the platform, like or us as creators saying, well, this is more rare than this one. For me, all 990 are equally beautiful, and I put as much as I could to make like every single one beautiful. And it's not even about visuals, it's actually in the mechanics too. So I tried to compensate the quality. So if you some like on lower end of one thing, you have better chances to get in something rare in different trade. So
that's nice. So you try to balance it to have
it doesn't always work, because otherwise it will be predefined, right? It's more about tweaking the probabilities, so you have a higher chances for getting something rare if you like down on something else. But nice. It's there actually in the system.
Okay, so here I see someone is asking to provide some details regarding the NFT minted, like reveal date of minted NFT, whether it will be a circle, rectangle, triangle, or rare traits of double NFT. So I guess we need to say it again, Danil, that we have 100 days, right?
Yeah, well, and some traits, especially like these formations, these complex, like double circle, double triangle, they will not reveal on day one.
But,
like
sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. But today, let's say, or tomorrow, let's say I'm in a wait list, and tomorrow I'm minting my NFT. The moment I mint it, I can see it's gonna be triangle, right? Or it's gonna be circle. No. So
Well,
when
no
when
one.
when will I see
It
that?
will be like a simultaneous reveal for everyone. So we have to wait for wait list and then for public sale. Uh, it's just 2 additional days.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will be unfair because people who got their NFTs first, so they already can set the market if they know the
Oh,
trades, everything. So we have to wait for everyone from the line to go
so
through.
that means
Only
that
after that we can reveal both like shape and trades and everything.
okay, so that means that by the end of this week, I will know the shape, right?
I cannot say you. It's not a question for me. You should ask someone from
Someone
OGR
else.
platform. Like
Okay.
if I was in charge, I will give you the date, but I
Okay.
don't have the date. Unfortunately, it's not in my power to say like on Friday.
Yeah.
I would definitely show you what we rendered. I have no idea. Sorry.
Okay.
It
So
will like be
someone
very
tuned.
soon because we have so much processing power right now
Right.
that it will be like much faster because I think for crystals it was like almost 2 weeks or something, like a very significant
Before the
period
reveal.
before the reveal, after the sale, and before the reveal, because we
Okay.
needed this time to render
To
10,000
render.
things
Yeah. But this time
on
it's
20
gonna be
merchants.
much
Yeah,
faster.
it should be much faster. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think we're talking about weeks. It should be. I hope it should be days. But
But
I'm sorry, I cannot give you the date.
I think what
yeah,
you're
It
looking
will
for
be
is
in the
to say,
Discord,
stay
like
tuned.
everywhere.
stay
Yeah, it
tuned.
will
Right.
be
So
on
stay
every
tuned.
channel.
It's worth
True.
a wait. I
So
can.
Yeah,
stay tuned, but
uh,
stay even more tuned because after the reveal, even if you have a circle, at certain point your circle may
might
become a double circle,
change.
might
Yeah,
be,
so
right?
there's some traits that will you will not see, because the thing is, I can give you a timeline of each individual voids. So let's say you have
Yeah,
an
let's do it
NFT
this way.
and it has its own timeline of 100 days, for example.
Yeah.
And over these days, individual in the voids gradually added. So there is like time shift between them, right? So one was added on day 1 and the other one on day 20.
Yeah.
And each individual void has its own timeline. So it starts as just a colored void. So the thing you know from the very beginning when it appears in your NFT, you know the like color of the void and the shape.
Yeah.
That's it. After some like this timeline of void passed, it reveals a pattern. So it's again, you don't see the pattern on the very first day for his void. It has to grow a bit, and that's when it shows the pattern. But it's only the beginning, because after that there are some special traits like special materials, gold, silver, whatever, that your pattern could switch into. And again, you have to wait for this individual void to mature
Each
enough
one of
to
them to
reveal.
have, yeah,
Yeah,
each one of them
and
to
so
reveal its
so
traits.
it takes time for each individual void, and because there is time shift every single time you revisit
And
your, there is like new voids and some old voids reveal some property. So your NFT keeps actually its life, it's changing.
yeah.
And we do it every. I might like lie to you. I think it's every 4 hours. The whole like
Oh,
the system goes through all the
with
NFTs
the
to update the content, to check the what the like, is there something new in the wallet. Maybe it's
wow,
8 hours, but
that's a
it is,
complex technology.
yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy complex, and that's why it took us so long to actually
To
create this
create it,
and
yeah.
test it, and that's why I
But
so
until
stressed.
when can I hope that I will get the double circle or the double triangle? When is
uh,
my last chance? Like half of the period or
Yeah, something like that. But the thing is, well, if you want to go deeper, I can go. The thing is, it's not every single NFT has the same life cycle. Basically,
okay.
some are growing faster, some are growing slower, and some have a like boost on the mint, so they're
Because they
just
have the
born.
crystal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they have like head start compared to others. So and it's a mix of luck and the things you have in your wallet and the things you do with your wallet that
Right.
affect, because for this
So that
collection
means,
yeah,
let's say that you got your double triangle and I didn't get anything. And that doesn't mean that that's it. No hope. I can there's still a chance that during these 100 days,
yes, at some point
will appear.
it may appear. It's obviously not guaranteed. Otherwise, it like every single triangle will become like double triangle, and that's it. Like nothing interesting. But yeah, there is a chance somewhere like in the middle of evolution of like your time frame of evolution, somewhere in the middle, it might switch to more like rare formation. But again, formation is just one of the traits. It's like I don't think we should focus on just that, because you can get like rare color combination, or like, I don't know, rainbow colors instead of just a single color, or you can have all golden boids, or half of the boids have like a silver pattern and the other half have black pattern. Like there are so many rare things can happen there, and it's up to you to say like, well, that's important and that's not. So it's very subjective again. So again, I don't think the rarity system, especially from OG art, will make sense. We shouldn't like slap a number on each one.
Okay. So I'll read out the last one. I'm not sure I totally understand. Sorry. Yeah. So I'm not sure what this means, but still I'll read out and we'll see how we can answer this one. So given the direction that OG Crystals took with a similar theme on an evolving NFT with a time limitation, is the team concerned that Leom will head in the same direction? And if not, why?
Well,
like
I'm not sure I
will
understand
try.
What is the same direction.
Me neither. But yeah, like this is a dynamic NFT collection. It evolves and it changes with time.
I think.
I think there's a differentiating factor here, which is important to us. In that there is an element of this. Once all your constituent parts have stopped evolving and live in your wallet, and it doesn't matter whether or not you pay attention to it, they still are and will remain constituent parts of a sculpture that has a life of its own, that can be shown in exhibitions. And I think that's a very important factor or important element for us as artists here, is that there is some form of exhibiting this to public audiences, i.e. and of course, individual bits artworks can be exhibited as well, but there is a
future life of it.
Well, there is a life of its own for every single of these NFTs, because they're part of a public artwork. And I don't find it insane to imagine that this collection will be exhibited in 15 years time in fully blown AR. Why not? There's I think as artists, I know in the crypto NFT world, like one week or 7 years or whatever, but we don't really think and work like that. We're still in that. We're very human beings, and our thinking is slower, and our outlook is longer. So I think I will still find this work and this movement interesting, that the sculpture that we want to create. And in the opposite, I think we will be much better equipped to exhibit it in 15 years than today. So in that case, it'll be very different from any other NFT collection that's been there so far, I think.
I totally agree. Thank you so much. Thank you for this conversation. It was really great to hear you. And I really hope to have an opportunity to experience it myself, first as an NFT and then as a whole virtual sculpture. And see you later.
See you. Bye. Bye, Danil.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.